Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Deepak Taide, and today we have again Noah Bhai with us. Welcome Noah Bhai.
Hi everyone, hi Deepak bhai, आप कैसे हैं?
मैं बिल्कुल ठीक हूँ, thank you. And how about you?
I'm going well, thank you.
So today I was thinking about this video, and this point came to my mind, which was politeness and manners in English. So I've noticed many people or English speakers whenever they speak something or whenever they want something. For example, if they want some tea, so they would not go directly. They just say, "I would like to have some tea."
Please.
Instead, yeah, I would like to have some tea, please. Oh wow! So whereas in Hindi, being a Hindi speaker, so in Hindi we just say एक चाय दे दो या फिर चाय दे दो. So which directly means give me tea, not even please. So yes, so I've noticed that I've discovered that during my English journey, it sounds little bit rude. So what about that? I would like to know your thoughts.
Yeah, interesting बात है क्योंकि yeah, अगर आप सुन रहे हैं और आप हिंदुस्तान से हैं, मुझे लगता है कि ये बहुत important topic है. So yeah, in Australia, for instance, obviously there's lots of countries that speak English, but in Australia, we often, I think it's fairly well broadly said that we don't necessarily have a strong culture. In India, you have a strong culture. You have lots of festivals, you have lots of religious events and lots of cultural things going on. But in Australia, we don't really have that much in the way of culture, but we have manners. And manners function in some of the same way in that there's lots of do's and don'ts in manners that just are important social rules. And so, yeah, very much so. If you are speaking in English, it is very important, especially if you're speaking to a native speaker. It's very important to use a bunch of manners rules. And when kids are growing up, one of the first things that they're taught is please and thank you. So I know that when I'm with parents that have like toddlers, young kids, and the toddler grabs for something on the table, the parents will often pull it away and say, "What do you say? What do you say?" And when they say please, they can get the food or whatever it is. And it's very important that when you're asking for something, you say please. And when you get something, you say thank you. Yeah. And मैं जानता हूँ दीपक भाई कि आपका manners बहुत बढ़िया है.
Oh, thank you so much for that.
You're always saying thank you.
Thank you so much. uh, and then, so you have been talking to many Indian English speakers as they are learning English and you are learning Hindi. And have you ever encountered any situation where you felt like, this guy or this, maybe it is inherently they don't use manners. So have you have any incident like that?
Yeah, like nothing serious. But I guess it's one of those things that it takes a while for Hindi speakers to pick up English manners, just in the same way that it takes a while for native English speakers to learn Hindi manners. So for instance, I had to learn that I just use up for every situation. I know that you can use tum, but I'm just like, I'm going to stay on the safe side and just use up for every whether they're older, whether they're younger, I just use up. But with Hindi speakers speaking English, I found that people will say things like, for instance, if you're organizing a time to call and they'll just say, call me in 5 minutes, which is fine, but it would be much better to say, like, would you mind calling back in 5 minutes, please? Or just, like you said, with chai dedo, just like you would say, give me chai. If you said that in English, it would seem very rude. Instead, we tend to, when you're asking for something, you either say, please, can you give me chai? Or we often say, we ask indirectly. So for instance, I would like a chai, please. Or can I have a chai, please? If I'm ordering something in a cafe, maybe I want to grab a cup of coffee, I would say, can I have a latte, please? And by just not saying give me, but actually using can I, and that's sort of, it's a little bit more of a passive sense. You're not commanding someone to do something, you're asking if you can do something. So that sort of manners is very, very important.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. And Yeah. How about sorries? So, so, yeah, in English, I was talking to a British lady the other day, and she said, "How is the weather today?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's raining outside." And she said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I was like, "Why? Why is she sorry if it is raining here?" And I've heard that people say sorry very often. So how about sorries?
Well, we do use that very often. Rather than that, why don't I walk you through? If I was to get some groceries, if I go to the grocery store, let me walk you through what might happen through the way. So when I go into the grocery store, there might be someone at the door, like a guard or someone. And if I just walked past them, I would probably say either just hello or g'day, but I might also just say thank you. Just to, they haven't done anything for me, but it'd be polite just to say thank you. I walk in there, and if I was to bump into someone or even just walk a little close to someone, I might say, "Oh, sorry." Especially if I bump their basket or I just bump into them a little bit, I'd say sorry. When I get to the checkout, that is where the people purchase all the groceries. I would say hello and how are you to the cashier, and I would always at the end of that say thank you. And if someone came up behind me and maybe my groceries, they needed a bit more space for their groceries, I would apologize, sorry. Or whether you just bump into someone, we use sorry a lot, and it's not necessarily to say you've done something wrong. It's just saying, "Oh, I'm being polite, sorry." So yeah, if you interrupt someone, so just say, for instance, I have a bad habit of, if I'm excited about something, I will jump in a conversation because I want to say something. And if I do that and the other person stops, I just say, sorry, you go. So we do use sorry, please, and thank you a lot.
And this interesting thing just came into my mind, which was, if someone passes away, if you are telling the sad news to the other person in English, so they would say sorry. Suppose, yeah, that person passes away, my uncle passes away, for example. So the other person might say sorry. But in India, in our culture, we said, "Oh, how? When?" So these things just start when, where, and did he have any kid or something like that? All these things.
I feel like if it was, if so, after those questions, you might say, "Oh, like, oh yeah, buri baat hai." You might say like, "This is a bad thing," right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They still, I guess. So sorry in English functions in three ways. The first is if I've done something wrong and I'm apologizing, maaf kijiye. So sorry, forgive me. Second thing is it's kind of like, excuse me. So if I bump into someone, I'm not saying I've done the wrong thing. I'm saying, excuse me, like I didn't mean to bump into you. But it can also function the third way, which is to say, like, I'm sorry to hear that. That's bad news. So if someone says, "Oh, I'm having a really bad week," I might say, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." It's not saying I've caused your bad week. It's saying that's a sad thing. So we use sorry in three different ways.
Wow. So all the times your translations are not gonna work. You have to, if you are learning a new language, you have to learn the manners, the politeness, and the way they speak. Yeah, I was just thinking, what if a person just learning from the textbooks, and especially these textbooks, they don't have these points, especially manners and tone. Tone cannot be taught.
Yes.
It always, yeah.
That's very true. Very true. It's interesting that in English we have the sort of, I guess it's probably the same in any culture really, but you have the sort of relationships, the sort of conversations that you have with just a random person on the street, and that's surface level, and we use a lot of sorries and please and thank you. If you're with your friends, you probably don't need to use it quite as much. You might be a little more comfortable just to say thanks, or not even to say, like, if you're sitting on the table and you were like, "Pass me the salt," you can say that, and you don't need to say, please pass me the salt. Would you mind passing me the salt, please? Whereas if you're sitting with someone that you've just met, you might be a bit more polite, or with your relatives or your parents or something like that. But if you're sitting with your really close family, we still use please and thank you, but we just are a little more informal. I guess it's kind of the difference between up, tum, and tu.
Yeah. Awesome points. Great. And one thing I've noticed, so in India or in Hindi, Marathi, we just say namaste, namaskar. But immediately you add this, how are you? With that, hello, how are you? But many times that how are you means just hello to the people. Wow, that is also
Yes.
fascinating for me.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, we've if I'm just, as I said, let's go back to the supermarket illustration. If I'm just at the shops and I say to the checkout person, hi, how are you? Like, the person can respond. They can say, oh, I'm going well, how are you? Or they might just say hi. They don't need to respond. It's kind of like, it's just me being polite to ask, hi, how are you? And it's just a cultural thing that we say. Yeah.
Wow, great things to learn. Wow, awesome. And do you want
I feel like these cultural differences are like they're the soft knowledge. So the hard knowledge is vocabulary, and we can have a great vocabulary, but if you don't know the cultural soft knowledge of when to use something, when it's appropriate to use something, when it's not appropriate, and the little things like please and thank you. One of the things that I've been learning for Hindi is G. G gets used all the time for, like, it might be like Deepak G, or it might also just be in a conversation like you've just said, like, can you do something? And I'm like, G. and
yeah.
that little soft, that soft knowledge, the cultural knowledge is so important when learning a language. It's not just vocabulary and rules, it's that context as well.
Awesome, great. Yes. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, great conversation, Noah bhai, about all these points. And thank you for teaching us all the manners, politeness. We are grateful to you. Thank you.
Awesome.
And
Dhanyavad, Deepak bhai. See you next
yes,
time.
thank you so much. See you next time. Bye for now.